Okay, let's be completely honest with ourselves for a second here. Every single one of us, no matter how old we are, has experienced it at least once, that sudden, inexplicable dread of the monster under the bed. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are dissecting the absolutely terrifying evolution of this exact concept. We're going to track how it moved from a simple, innocent childhood myth that parents used just to keep us in line into a highly circulated, sleep-ruining urban legend. And then, right into the genuinely horrifying reality of true crime. I'm telling you, grab a blanket, maybe turn on an extra light, because by the end of this deep dive, you are absolutely going to want to check beneath your own bed frame tonight. Let's get into it.
I want you to think back to when you were a kid, just lying awake in the dark. We've all laid there and asked ourselves the exact same visceral question, right? What on earth is hiding just beneath the mattress? It's a deeply, deeply ingrained neurosis for so many of us. When the lights go out, that empty, dusty void between the floorboards and the box spring suddenly feels incredibly vast, doesn't it? It completely transforms into this endless space where something unseen could easily exist just out of our sight. To really understand why this specific fear is so universally potent across so many different people, we have to look at where the programming actually begins.
So this terror doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's actually programmed into us in early childhood, with the incredibly universal folklore of the Boogeyman. All across the globe, adults have historically used this concept to frighten children into good behavior. Eat your vegetables or the monster will get you. In Spanish-speaking cultures, it's known as El Cuco, or El Hombre del Saco, which translates to the man with the sack. But what is really fascinating and honestly deeply unsettling about the Boogeyman is that he has no specific fixed appearance. The creature literally takes the shape of our worst, most personalized fears. And where does this formless monster traditionally lurk? Right in the bedroom, specifically hiding inside dark closets or lying in wait right underneath the bed, totally ready to strike when the child is at their absolute most vulnerable, when they are just trying to drift off to sleep. But here's the thing, as we grow up, those childhood myths begin to mutate. Take a look at this 1985 cover from the Whole Earth Review. It depicts the bizarre but at the time widely believed urban legend of a woman mistakenly drying her poodle in a microwave. Now, the 1980s were an era of intense cultural paranoia. It was a time when frightening, completely unverifiable urban legends spread like absolute wildfire through print media and whispered word of mouth. Pre-internet, you just had to take people's word for these things. We transitioned from fearing these mythological, fairy tale creatures under our beds to fearing very real yet fictionalized threats infiltrating our own homes. The danger was no longer a ghost, the danger was now physical. And this fear perfectly crystallized into one of the most enduring, creepy modern myths of all time, the licked hand. This is a legend found in print as early as 1982, and we really need to dissect this legend because it escalates step by step into pure, suffocating terror. It goes like this. A young girl is left home alone for the very first time. She hears news of a local killer on the loose, so she meticulously locks all the doors, but of course, forgets a single basement window. Terrified, she goes to sleep with her faithful dog right under her bed. In the dead of night, she wakes up to a strange, rhythmic dripping sound echoing from the bathroom. Too paralyzed by fear to actually get up and investigate, she reaches her hand down to the dark floor. She feels a warm, reassuring lick from her dog and safely falls back asleep. But then comes step 4, the absolute worst part, the gruesome morning discovery. When the girl wakes up and finally walks to the bathroom, she finds her beloved dog mutilated, hanging right there in the shower. That rhythmic dripping sound she heard all night long, that was the dog's blood hitting the porcelain. And written on the shower wall, in that very blood, is the chilling climax of the urban legend. It reads, "People can lick too." Just let that sink in for a second. The realization that the comforting presence under her bed all night long wasn't her pet, but a psychopathic killer is an absolute masterclass in suspense. It completely and totally violates the ultimate safe haven of the bedroom. The monster was there, literally touching her, and she didn't even know it. So why does that specific story get under our skins so easily? Why does it make our blood run cold? Well, it's because horror exploits our most ancient evolutionary survival instincts. Psychologists and film analysts have pointed out that when we are lying down in bed, we are physically entirely vulnerable. We're completely off guard, we are swallowed by the dark, and most importantly, our sightlines are heavily restricted. Think about it, we cannot see what is below us without leaning over, peering over the edge into the blackness, and putting our face directly into the danger zone. It essentially forces a sensory deprivation that just lets our imaginations run wild with worst-case scenarios. And modern cinema absolutely weaponizes that exact psychological blind spot. In the 2013 horror blockbuster The Conjuring, there is a terrifying sequence that is perfectly tailored to this specific fear. One of the young daughters, Christine, is fast asleep when she feels something forcefully pull at her feet. Terrified, she scans the pitch-black room but can't find the source of the pull. When she finally musters up the courage to lean over the edge to look for that monster under the bed, the camera view is brutally restricted to just a tiny, dark sliver of light beneath the mattress. By forcing the audience to stare into that tight, restricted dark space right along with her, the film taps right back into our childhood bogeyman programming. You know something is there, but the darkness is hiding it from you. It's no surprise that Hollywood has repeatedly mined this under-the-bed trope over the decades. In 1997, the anthology film Campfire Tales gave us a brutal, direct adaptation of that licked hand legend we just talked about, involving an 11-year-old girl named Amanda, an online predator, and her poor dog. Then, jump to 2018, you have Killer Under the Bed, a thriller where a grieving teenager finds a cursed voodoo doll that manipulates events around her. But right in the middle there, I really want you to notice the 2017 film Under the Bed by Dan Myrick, who you might know as the creator of the Blair Witch Project. Now, this film wasn't just based on a ghost story or a supernatural voodoo doll. No, it was inspired by real, terrifying news stories. And this is where things get truly disturbing, because the safety of fiction completely shatters when these campfire tales bleed into the real world. In the fictional licked hand legend, the killer is this unknown, faceless ghost lurking in the shadows of a dark house. It's just a spooky story to scare your friends at sleepovers. But in 2014, for one teenage girl in the UK, the monster was entirely, terrifyingly real. This is the true crime case of 18-year-old stalker Kyle Ravenscroft. The director of that 2017 movie noted he was directly inspired by cases exactly like this one, where a living, breathing person literally stays under a victim's bed for their own twisted, obsessive reasons. Let's break down what actually happened here. 18-year-old Kyle Ravenscroft became deeply, deeply obsessed with an unnamed 16-year-old girl. He actually sent her text messages stating point blank that he was watching her. Could you imagine getting that text? The next morning, the young girl noticed some of her belongings were shifted out of place in her bedroom. Things just weren't right. When she investigated the space, she found him physically hiding right underneath her bed. He had been there, invading her most private, intimate sanctuary. Ravenscroft pleaded guilty to stalking in 2014. He received a 12-week prison sentence, which was suspended for 2 years, along with some unpaid work. His lawyer stated this was a massive wake-up call. And honestly, thankfully, this horrifying intrusion of space was resolved without physical violence. But unfortunately, the reality of this trope takes an even darker turn. Not every real-life case of someone hiding under a bed ends with a suspended sentence and a physically unharmed victim. Sometimes the absolute worst-case scenario, the literal monster of our childhood fears, is a very real person capable of unspeakable acts. And this brings us to the harrowing, tragic reality of the Heathrow hotel killings. In August of 2012, at a hotel near London's Heathrow Airport, a horrific crime took place. A hotel receptionist named Attila Bond murdered 2 of his co-workers. The sequence of events here is just incredibly grim and tragic. Following a sex party, Bond brutally stabbed his 2 colleagues to death right there in the hotel room. It was a chaotic, bloody scene that left a profound physical aftermath, and it quickly prompted a massive police investigation to uncover what had happened to these 2 victims. 2 days. I really want you to focus on this number. It is a small number, but in this context, it is truly hard to even fathom. This duration represents the sheer, unimaginable horror of this true crime case. It completely redefines the concept of hiding in plain sight, stretching a single moment of terror into a prolonged, agonizing reality. For 2 entire days, 48 hours, while the police were actively inside that hotel room, systematically combing over the crime scene, collecting evidence, and investigating the bodies of the victims, the killer was still there. Attila Bond had crawled inside the hollow base of the divan bed. He hid secretly inside the bed base, right beneath the investigators. He lay there, breathing the exact same air entirely undetected, while the authorities walked the floorboards just inches above his face. Think about the claustrophobia of that. The calculated stillness required to avoid detection by the police working the scene literally right on top of him. It is a detail so deeply disturbing it feels like it belongs in a scripted psychological thriller, but it is entirely, chillingly factual. But of course, the law eventually caught up with this waking nightmare, because you can only hide in the dark for so long before the truth is dragged out into the light. Attila Ban was finally discovered, arrested, and brought to justice. He received a 26-year life sentence for the brutal double murder of his colleagues. In this case, it serves as a stark, chilling reminder for all of us. The monsters we fear aren't always folklore constructs like the boogeyman from when we were kids. And they aren't just fictional characters in an urban legend licking our hands in the dark. Sometimes they are very real people, driven by very dark motives, occupying the exact physical spaces we consider our ultimate safe havens. They cross the boundary from our nightmares directly into our reality.
So after tracing this entire journey, right, from the myths our parents told us to make us behave, through the terrifying, sleep-stealing urban legends of the 1980s, all the way to the grim realities of stalkers and killers invading our actual bedrooms, I will leave you with this final unsettling thought to take away from our explainer today. Tonight, when you go home, when you turn off the lights and settle into sleep, will you ever look at that sliver of darkness beneath your bed the exact same way again?